There. Yeah, we've got a couple more minutes before. There are a bunch of people who are coming on this webinar today. I think, Kerrie, I just sent you a list. I think I have one more person that just signed in at the last minute, but I think that we're 60 people coming on today. And the really interesting thing is that they're not all Canadian. We've got some American clubs that have come on as well. And we have one from Hungary. So it's really an international event. Makes it rather great. So we have Corey, the president of the Melfort District Curling Club. We have Nick Fagnou, the head of the planning committee. We have Kerrie DeGooijer, who is a board member as well as a member of the planning committee. Scott Scherman, do we have you on here yet, Scott? There's another Scott Goodhue.
I don't see Scott Scherman.
Oh. I'm sure that he's coming on. We have Bobby Ray from Curling Canada. Hello, Bobby.
At least a 6-sheeter.
Hi, everyone.
Where are these guys?
Don't know. I look at you. I'm sure they'll tell us, but you can look it up.
I'm getting booed. You're on mute.
And I wonder if there's a better way for me to share the screen.
You know, these shutters could go down here too. Just look better than the steel bars behind us. Well, I just ever so briefly, just so that.
I'm wondering, is Chad Kelly on the line already? Do you see him, Kelly?
No.
Okay. And Dustin Mikush, do we have him on yet?
Here. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Dustin. Really good. So since it's 4:30 and people can come on as they want, and please keep yourself on mute until you're called on, or to ask questions towards the end of the session. We have a lot to cover just because what they've done at the Melfort District Curling Club is just really immense in a really short amount of time. It'll be hard to get through everything that they've accomplished in the next 45 minutes, as you'll see from the next few slides, and you do see the slides on the screen, right? They set a $1.1 million target and have raised just over 800,000 so far, with assistance from private donations, fundraisers, and grants. That includes 175,000 in naming rights that have been sold, including the name of the rink itself, the bar, and the change rooms. They've also added 40 new members to their list this year, all between the ages of 25 and 35, which is pretty amazing. And before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge that it's International Women's Day. 38% of the people that signed up for the webinar are women. So happy International Women's Day to all of us. I'd also like to thank Saskatchewan's CurlSask Dustin Mikush, as well as the Business of Curling Facebook group for helping to promote this important webinar. Dustin also has agreed to answer some questions today. I know he's extremely proud of what the Melfort Curling Club has accomplished so far. I'd also like to give a shout out to today's sponsor, Hack Tax Solution. The patented Easy Sheets are reusable, customized, digitally printed, full sheet rink liners that eliminate messy ice paint forever. You can find out more at hacktagssolution.com, or you can email Kevin Grametza at rinksolutions@hotmail.com. This is the planning committee led by Nick. Nick, say hello. Nick Fagnou.
Hello, everyone.
He's far right hand. Nick led the charge for the Synergy Ag Farmers and Friends Bonspiel. It was the first time the planning committee had undertaken such a big undertaking, which is what made me interested in them from the outset. But as I dug deeper, I found out what they had accomplished was no accident, that the board and the planning committee are strategic in their goals. And I just wanted to show you a few of the different things that they did, which I think is really impressive. First of all, they are masters at graphics, and I think that's important for curling clubs. They're always promoting the companies that are helping to promote them. For example, look at this. They got a free entry into a $500 elimination draw that was sponsored by Northern Nutrients. They also do things outside of the box. They have Family Curling Fun Day for newcomers. And from the looks of things, it was also a really big success. They've got a great junior program as well. They are always showing off on social media the winners of different competitions, like their Monday and Tuesday night rec league winners. They're showing the kind of grant monies that they are receiving and giving thanks for those as well. Here's a couple of the other big checks that they've received. $25,000 from Viterra. That was the dressing room sponsors. Here's the $50,000 check from Brandt, which was for the bar, which got renamed. What is the Brandt Hard Rock Cafe, or
Last Rock Lounge.
the Last Rock Bar and Lounge. And they find other ways of doing fundraising. Like for example, this case of 30 sirloin steaks that went for $500. They're always giving thanks to the volunteers, and community in Melfort is outstanding. This is a picture that was taken at their 50th golf tournament to celebrate the 50th year of the rinks. They had a golf tournament, and that's volunteers that they had. I don't know if it was MNP. It's got an SGI sign back behind it, but they get people from the community to come out and support them as well. And in addition, they are going to be the hosts of Curling Day in Canada 2024. And that was announced at the end of February. And once again, Bourgault Industries, who have actually taken on the naming rights, they're the ones who really helped to kickstart maybe the fundraising for the naming rights. And Scott, are you there? Scott Scherman, are you on?
He's having issues getting on.
Oh, is he?
Could you maybe resend a link to him?
Sure, I
It's,
could do that. I could do that.
not-
I could
He's
send
been
that.
trying every link she sends, but don't get what you have. I was trying to send him pictures of what I saw.
Okay, maybe what I could do is to put it into the chat, and you could send it to him. How do I find that easily? Let's go here. Let's go to my meetings in Zoom. Let's see if we can get it here. Here it is. Would you be able to send that to him?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to work. I think that you might need to go to the Zoom itself. Okay. Now I've got some feedback. Okay, I've stopped my share. What I had wanted to do, because Scott Scherman only has a few minutes, and because Bourgault Industries is really important to this entire fundraising efforts, I wanted to talk to him about how it is that you've aligned yourselves so well with industry, with members, and with bonspielers. So since we don't have him here, I'm going to ask Nick, who was organizing the planning committee, tell me a little bit about the Farmers and Friends Bonspiel that you organized and why it became an annual event.
Yeah, I mean, this was kind of the first year we've ever done something like this. And I mean, if you haven't noticed already, probably like over half of our sponsors are around the agriculture community. I mean, that's what drives Melfort. And I mean, that's what we really focused on. And what other do farmers do over winter is they curl. So we had, I mean, it was called the Synergy Ag Farmers Bonspiel. So I mean, Synergy Ag actually came to us and thought about, let's do this. And we thought, well, why not? Let's give it a shot. And they're basically a new crop inputs retail coming into Melfort. And we took it on that, and we focused on sponsorships evolved around the agriculture community, and just gave them a detailed plan of what our plans were. And it was a success. We were shooting for 34 teams. We ended up with 28. And the main goal was to get as many teams as possible and just have a great and a fun weekend and make people want to come back for next year, I guess, was the main goal for us.
Because it's becoming an annual event. That's what Synergy Ag has branded it.
Yeah, I mean, they were a new business coming into Melfort, so they wanted to show off their brand too, right? So it's kind of a win-win for both of us. And they helped us run the bar, and they helped us actually talk to a lot of their suppliers, which was a majority of the sponsorships for that Farmers Field too. So it was every bit thankful to them too. So
I want to add something on that, because there's a lot of people that aren't from Saskatchewan or Alberta on the call that probably have no idea like what a farmer's bonspiel maybe is, but like every small community in Saskatchewan, at least, like farmers bonspiels were a thing that every community had. And then Melfort hasn't had one for a very long time. So that was Synergy asked, well, do you guys have one? And we said, yeah, we said no, but let's do it. And at the same time, I had been following what Whitewood was doing, and now Chad Kelly's on, but I follow what they've done in Whitewood, which is Southeast Sask. I don't even know, 1,000 people live there, and they host a 64 team bonspiel. They started it 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago now. And so just thought, well, if they can do it, we can do it. So that's a little bit of a backstory to what the farmers, like for the people in Ontario maybe, or Southern, or in the States, like it's not a new thing, but I guess it's new to us.
Chad Kelly, you're there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi, Chad. How are you?
Good, thank you.
So you've been very successful down in Whitewood with your Farmers and Friends Bonspiel.
Yeah, it was something where we had been hosting a farmers bonspiel for a number of years, and it used to be big and whatnot, but we used to struggle to get 10 or 11 or 12 teams. And so I'm kind of a Manitoba boy and been around a lot of big bonspiels in Manitoba. So I thought I'd bring some of these concepts into Whitewood and see if we could give it a try. We're fortunate we have a facility where our curling club and hockey club are connected. And so at the time, the facility manager at the time, I approached him. I said, if we can get 32 teams, would you be willing to convert the hockey ice over into curling? And he said, yeah, give it a shot. And so the first year we got to 64 teams. It was a struggle, but we managed. We ended up with 64 teams, and then all of a sudden the sponsors started coming on, and it was a successful year. I think we made like $13,000 or $14,000, and everyone was excited. And the curling club bought a new scraper, and it was just the greatest thing. And then all of a sudden, the phone started ringing, like basically right after the Bonspiel, saying like, we want in for next year. And so, and the sponsors started calling again, and like it was such a success. And so anyway, so it just kept growing, and the momentum kept going, and now we have a great sponsorship from a lot of egg sponsors, implement dealers to seed reps to, Richardson Pioneers are one of our top sponsors. There's a lot of mining sponsors around here. And in the past 6 Bonspiels, we ended up raising $345,000. And it looks like in our 6th Bonspiel this year, we're going to hit $500,000 in profit. And I think the thing that makes it so great is we take some profit and put it back into our facility, but a lot of the profit we take and we donate it, grant it out to communities that support us. Any curler or sponsor that's in a community, we encourage them to get user groups in their community to apply for this grant. And so we donate a lot of our money back to this grant program. And so it's a win-win for everybody. And it's a fun weekend when you have 64 teams. And this year is 72 teams because we added a 8-team junior event. So yeah, that's a little background on it.
That's a huge number of teams. That's excellent. So I know that Kerrie was watching the things that you're doing. Actually, Kerrie is a little bit of a social media mogul, I would say. She follows over 100 different curling clubs on Facebook. Is that right?
Wow.
And
I don't even know, but it's a lot.
It's a lot. And she's always looking for ideas. So Kerrie, you're a board member, but you were also part of the planning committee for this project. So what was your vision? I guess when Synergy Ag came to you, they wanted to be able to invite some of their customers. Is that the way that it worked?
Yeah, I think we really wanted them to invite their customers. Of course, none of them really curled, so I would say that they didn't really do a great job of inviting their customers. But I think now that they know what this is all about, I don't think we'll have any problem selling out next year because, yeah, we really wanted to target people that don't typically curl, because what happens is if people get busy and then they can't join a league, and then before you know it, it's 10 or 15 years before they've curled, and then they'll just say, no, I don't want to curl because I don't know how. So we really want to attract a wide range of people to come and curl at our rink at least once. And this Farmers and Friends Bonspiel is just one way of doing that. And one key thing is it's and friends. We don't care if your whole team isn't aren't farmers. Like, I could care less.
They're there.
We call it Farmers and Friends because it's attractive to sponsors. But
really good. Corey Faye, you're the president of the Melfort District Curling Club. Tell us, how big is Melfort to begin with? I guess that's really where we should have began with this whole thing.
Sure. So Melfort's in northeast Saskatchewan. It's about 2 hours north of Saskatoon. Melfort's a small city of about 6,000 people. And as Nick kind of alluded to, we're driven on agriculture. So it's farming, it's egg.
Sorry, Scott Scherman is on now.
Oh, is he?
So maybe we should, well, before he has to go.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, sorry, I'll come back to you in a second. Scott, hi, how are you? I don't know if you're on mute. Scott Scherman? Don't see him. Doesn't matter. Corey, go ahead, please.
Sure. Scott can interrupt anytime. Like I was saying, it's a city of about 6,000 people. Agriculture is our main economic driver here, with implement dealers and things like that. So lots of farmers in our club. Our club is a 6-sheet facility, completely independent from the city of Melfort. So we're not connected to a hockey rink or anything like that. We also have a lounge and like we said, a kitchen that we operate as well. So, or we lease out. So it's a vibrant rink, and it's a rink that we've really worked hard to increase our membership. I I've got a few stats. I know our COVID year was a bit of a challenge for us, and I'm sure it was a challenge for every club, just sustaining members. And we definitely saw a hit that year. We lost about 20% of our members through the COVID pandemic. But the year after, we were able to spring back and not only get that 20% back, but we grew it by another 10% on top of that. And then this past year, again, we've seen another 20% increase in membership. So, and like you mentioned, we're in that key demographic of that 20 to 40 range where we don't want you for a year, we want you for 40 years, right? So if we get those younger people in the door and we get them interested in curling, we're hoping they're there until they're well into their retirement age. So it's been a great couple of years for us.
And that's exactly it. So what were your numbers like before COVID and what are they like now? How many members do you have?
So right now we're just over 200 members, about 210 members when we include our junior program. The year before COVID, we were at 165, and then we dipped down to about 130 members during the COVID pandemic. So.
And how many members have you had at the biggest heyday of Melfort's curling club? Do you know?
I would say that we're probably approaching that now. I can't go back much further than the previous. I would say that 165 number, we were pretty flat for a number of years prior to COVID. So I would, without going back really far before I was around, I would think that we're probably approaching that high number now.
Really good. So, and tell me about your board itself. Your board has got 11 people in it.
Yes, our board is a great group of people. We've worked hard to kind of increase our diversity. So we do have a couple of reps from our leagues, which are very vibrant in our club. And then we've got a bunch of those 30 somethings, myself, Kerrie, a few other people that we get a good range of perspectives. And they realized, I guess, maybe a year ago, 2 years ago now, that we need to be a little bit more engaged and we need to be a little bit more active to seek out those new members for a number of reasons. One, we want to make sure the club is active and it's growing and it's going to be here for a long time. And then the other side of it was we had some infrastructure issues where we knew we were going to have to invest in our ice plant, and we were going to have to invest in our building to make sure that it was going to be around. So they started looking long term instead of just fixing and patching things together. We started looking at a plan to actually replace and refurbish and make sure we extend the life of our building for 20 or 30 years.
You started looking at this as a business.
In a lot of ways, yeah. We looked at everything, like even something as simple as our kitchen. We operated a kitchen that most years would break even. Well, we flipped that and we decided, why don't we lease the kitchen to somebody, curb our expenses in that area, and it became a profit for us. So now we lease our kitchen to somebody, they pay us a monthly rent. We don't have to worry about food costs and wages. It's just a check that we get to cash every month. So things like that are a small change, but it means a lot to us in our bottom line when we traditionally have been a break-even operation. We're now looking at making us a profit, and that's something that we can invest back into our club.
Colleen?
Yes, go ahead.
Scott here. Can you hear me now?
Scott, hi, how are you?
Good.
So,
Having trouble.
Scott
but
Scherman is the
I can finally-
marketing technical director for Bourgault Industries. And what I want to know from you is, the Melfort Curling Club has some pretty strong ideas about what it is. They say that we're worth investing in and you should come and curl with us. And by the way, you're going to have some fun with us. How does that align with what Bourgault is doing?
Yeah, it aligns quite well. A lot of factors align well, I guess. So the reason for, I guess, choosing the naming rights sponsorship, number of reasons, and that's one of them. Obviously, there's a big full plan, right? They had an action plan and a goal and all that in mind, and being Melfort is close to St. Brew. I don't know if you're know the logistics, but the a lot of our team members are in the Melfort area, either directly or in the, I guess what we call the curling bubble area around Melfort. So, certainly there's a lot of direct benefits to the company team members. And, St. Brew had a curling club years ago, and like in the 90s or something, it closed down from the usual small town issues of the ice plant goes, and there's no money to fix it, right? And so, those are always a hit to small communities. So, we're happy to support the next nearest curling club, I guess you could say. And
You're what? You're 50 kilometers away from Melfort? Maybe not even that far.
about 40, yeah. So,
40 kilometers away. So a half hour away for our American friends. So it's not so far, but it's very rural. There's nothing but farmland between Melfort and St. Brew. Yes.
yeah, it's a pretty wide open 25-minute drive.
There you go.
So it's,
I think the other thing we didn't, like St. Brew, Bourgault is in St. Brew, and St. Brew has a population of like 700 people. But the plants, like they build air seeders for farmers to seed their crops. Like the plant employs 700 people. So a lot of people live in Melfort that work at St. Brew. We didn't talk about that at all, but that's just a backgrounder.
Oh, no. Well, that's really interesting. Well, thank you so much. It seems, Kerrie, that there was a little bit of an agriculture competition going on there as to who was going to be able to get what, because all of a sudden, everybody got really excited about putting some money into the Melfort Curling Club.
Yeah, like it didn't happen all at once, I guess. I had never been involved in like a large scale capital fundraiser before. So I'm a Googler. If I have a question, I don't wonder, I just Google it. And so there's lots of information on how to do a capital fundraiser. Now, one route is you can pay someone to do all of that for you, which is sometimes appealing, but you start with, you do the quiet phase, right? Like before we didn't go out and announce we had a $1 million fundraising goal right off the bat. We did a lot of work in the background to try to get support so that when we announced it, we already had like $500,000 raised. So anyways, I had on my list of the big players that I thought would probably, maybe, hopefully give us significant amount of money. I wasn't interested at that point of like $500 here and there. I wanted like the big ones. And Bourgault was top of my list because, Scott Scherman, he didn't say this, but he used to be the president of our curling club. And he's the leader of our youth curling program. And several people on our board work at Bourgault, and there's lots of members that work at Bourgault. And Bourgault is very, you have to like tailor your sponsorship proposal to each business. And so I know that Bourgault invest heavily in their employees' personal development and stuff and being leaders. So I tapped into that, and I targeted them on purpose because I figured, I didn't know they were going to do naming rights. So that was a very welcome surprise, but they came on really early on. And that's the struggle with all these businesses, is like, nobody wants to be the first one, I would say. Like, they don't think that you maybe are going to actually do it. It's not until you actually have some momentum that there's more of a competition. And now we have that a little bit more. But Bourgault was one of the first ones quite early on to say that. And that was such a huge like momentum thing for like us in the background. Because again, we hadn't announced anything yet. Didn't know what to expect. So.
But you were already applying for grants by that time too, were you not?
Yes.
You already had your number in mind as to what it's going to cost for you to renovate the Melfort Curling Club to make it the way that it needs to be for the next 50 years.
Yes. Yeah. The grant was priority. Again, none of us had any experience applying for grants, but I found a provincial, federal cost sharing type grants. That's the one, there was a little slide on that. And basically you apply for it and you have the governments will pay 73% of your project, and then you have to fund the rest. So we had like a month and a half to apply for it, and we didn't really know what we were doing. The thing with all these grants is they want to see that you have money in the bank, which is ironic because we're applying for the grants because we have no money. But they all want they want to show that you're like serious, basically, that you've got money, you're ready to go. And so we made it look like we had money when I applied for that, that grant. But meanwhile, I knew that we had to start approaching businesses, and once the grant was figured out and applied for, then we immediately we had this other sponsorship proposal and started hitting up the big players for seeing if there was interest.
Colleen,
Yes, go ahead.
I have to run to my next appointment, sorry.
Well, thank you so much.
I'll just put a couple of closing remarks. Like Kerrie mentioned a couple of things there, and you know, a big part of it is tailoring it to the businesses you're going after, but also the culture of your community. As you mentioned, yeah, a lot of it is ag-related businesses, and that's probably not by accident because it's a big part of this area out here. So targeting those and is a big part of it, and reaching out to, you know, some of the key players, like Kerrie said, Bourgault was one, and it's somewhat unique, I guess, for Bourgault. I was a bit surprised, to be honest, that we had went for that level of sponsorship because it's pretty big for us. But it shows that, you know, that whole commitment that we have, and then I think what Kerrie mentioned from there, kind of others get involved too once you kind of get the ball rolling. And so I got to step off, but sorry for being so late and joining.
Oh, no, we really appreciate you coming on, and thank you so much for your contribution, Bourgault Industries and Scott Scherman. That's great.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Yeah. So Kerrie, the other thing about not just worth investing in, but you're fun. You guys are fun and you like to curl. I think that you're all a bit curling fanatics, are you not?
Yeah, I would say we like to have fun. I don't know. I would say in general, Melfort's not that much of a serious competitive curling community. Like, for example, our leagues, we have a lot of league offerings, but our competitive league is dying, I would say. But our recreation leagues are really, really growing. That's where most of our growth is. So yeah, we do like to curl. The having fun thing, I guess, I don't know, it's just, you don't have to force it. But obviously, we're all volunteers, and why would someone want to volunteer with our organization if we're not having fun, or if it's all doom and gloom, or if it's all negative, or that just, why would someone step up to the plate? So I can plan a thing all day long. I like doing that, but I need people behind me or with me, like alongside me, having fun, making sure they do it. But how do we, like, got to be fun, otherwise nobody's going to do it.
Your husband also curls, and from the looks of things, not just your friends, but the friends who are curling or telling their friends that they're curling, and that's the way that you were able to increase your membership as much as what you've done. Is that part of it?
Yeah, like we I've talked about this before on there was another webinar we were on. We host these bonspiels. They're one night only, 4 end games. And I think that's really been key to getting some people out to curl that maybe have never curled before or anything like that. Because if you're new to Melfort, or say you live in Melfort and you've never curled before, you're not signing up for a 3-day bonspiel when you're busy, when you don't know how to curl, maybe if you don't have a team. So these bonspiels have been a really good way to get like new people out. And then now it's a little bit of a friends telling their friends. Like, Nick, when did you start curling? And you've curled before, but when did you join a league?
Yeah, I've curled before. I mean, I guess I was out of Melfort, born and raised in Melfort, but I was out of Melfort for a few years there. So then I guess once I came back, I've always been willing to bring people with me. So I've brought a couple new curlers that never curled before, and then now they're my rec league team. So I mean, I guess it's just, you know, telling your friends, and I think that's what we're seeing from this Farmers Friends Bonspiel. It's like we've had the 28 teams, and those people talk to their friends, and it's like, oh man, we have to get into this for next year. So and I guess, like, off to Kerrie's point, just the idea of having fun, just an example. We kind of followed, like we said, Whitewood. We did a lot of like incentives for people to come on. You know, we had a $5 entry fee, elimination draw. We had silent auction items. We had a bunch of free food, or basically an entry fee for the team will get you a lot of stuff like nachos and meals and stuff like that. So just to make that part around it to allow people to have fun and just enjoy their time, and basically make them want to come back next year to have more fun. So
There you go. So let's go back to the whole question about branding, and how did you actually develop your brand?
That's a good question. I know you kind of asked, like, did it happen organically or was it conscious? I would say it was a little bit of both. I had no experience applying for grants before, but I called so many people that had that particular grant that I got, or that we got. I could see past recipients of it, and I seen a lot of small villages and towns that had received it. And I know in those small villages, I'm not originally from Melfort, I'm from a way smaller community. Like, I know even if you're not owned by we're not owned by the municipality, but even if you are and you're from a small village, like, it's still volunteers doing everything. I know that. So seeing all these other towns and villages that got these grants, like, I called all of them that they weren't getting them for the curling clubs. It was usually a hockey rink or a pool or something like that. Got tips and tricks from everybody. And a lot of people that are experienced with grants just talk about being positive, right? Like, avoiding the negative language, just rewording how you say things. Like, for example, maybe you might be tempted to say, our rink is old and the roof is leaking, you know, because that was what was happening. But you can't say that. It's like, you got to say, our rink is well maintained, but an upgrade will, you know, improve our efficiency. And I don't know, you just you spin it so it's positive. So I guess applying for grants and trying to practice all that positive messaging, and then at the same time talking to businesses and, like, you know, trying to change some of the misconceptions maybe about curling. Like, a lot of people maybe think, like, oh, it's just an old person sport and nobody young is curling on there. So on social media, like, I run the Facebook page, I'm always trying to show, like, we're not dying, like, it's very positive. Like, hey, look, all these young people are curling, like, you could too. It's not just some old boys club. It's yeah, so I guess it was on purpose a little bit. Like, I'm Facebook, definitely, it's always positive, even though, like, through this whole process, there's lots of, especially in the beginning, a lot of feelings of being very overwhelmed and very frustrated. I never once conveyed that to the public, but definitely in the background, I'm thinking, what are we doing? What's the point? But I don't say that out loud, except to you guys, I guess, because I'm sure you're all feeling the same way, or you will at some point.
But that's classic marketing as well, where you just need to keep your nose to the grindstone and to keep getting your message out there, and trying to be as positive as you can be with everything that you're doing. So really well done. So what is the future going to then hold for you guys when you've got a great number of members now? You've been able to hold a pretty substantial bonspiel, which is going to keep on going year after year. You've got it all. It seems to be working really well for you. So what's going to happen next?
That's a good question.
the curling day in Canada, of course, I guess.
Yeah,
Gotta start planning for that.
Was that a surprise?
I mean, I applied for it. I guess you just don't. It was
I
in
think it was
Banff.
just yeah, it was more just Banff to Melfort, small town Saskatchewan. I don't know how we're gonna we're gonna have to put a wall up with all the mountains so we can show it off. But I don't think it was so much a surprise. I think it was just like, oh, let's see what we can do. And sure enough, we got it. So now we gotta,
But that's another thing too. Kerrie told me last week that you guys received another grant. She didn't tell me how much it was, but she says, you know, all of these grants, it doesn't matter if it's 10,000 or 100,000, it all makes a difference. And you just keep on trying. Is that it?
I think
Yeah,
it's
like-
like a,
Oh, go ahead,
sorry,
Corey.
I think it's like a bit of a snowball going down the hill, right? Like once that first grant came in, all of a sudden we had 2 or 3 others come in, and I feel like we've gained some momentum, and it's just a matter of continually to push for new members and continuing to go for grants and leveraging that money the best that we can.
Yeah, now that we know more about grants and stuff, yeah, like we knew nothing before. And yeah, I'm just looking back, it was the timing of some things was just really, we were really lucky, I think. Now we're trying to be more proactive. And I just think applying for grants, it's good to practice, because even if you don't need money right away, like you learn like what they're asking you, and also find someone to review your first grant that knows what they're doing. Because my very first grant I applied for, it was before that very big one. It was kind of the same time. I thought it was decent, but then I found someone that I still haven't met her to this day, but I knew that she had experience writing a grant, successfully funding a pretty large infrastructure project in a small town near us. And she tore my grant apart and gave so many good tips and tricks. And I didn't get that grant. I got the next one though. You learn when grants come out, and grants take forever to hear back on. Like you have to be proactive, because like it's not like you can't fund short, like something breaks down, you're not going to find a grant to fund that right now. Like you need to be proactive. And so,
Well, even some of the prep that goes into the grants, right? Some of the studies and things that they want to see that you put the effort in, and sometimes it helps to, even before you even know you need that grant, to at least have some of that stuff prepped. There are things that if we would have known about sooner, we could have had prepped and made that application a little bit quicker.
yeah, or I would have applied for way more money. We didn't. We applied for phase 1 of our project. That was the 400 you posted. It was for $420,000. So if you're thinking, well, why didn't you put 1.1 million? It's like, well, we only had a month to do this, and we just got quotes for the phase 1, and that is all we applied for, because we didn't. And also we had to show that we had money in the bank. So the only thing we could kind of fudge was that we had $100,000 in the bank, not 300,000. So, now that we were proactive, like the other part of it now, once phase 1 was done, the other part was accessibility to our rink. That's another important thing for us, because we have stairs into our rink, and we're right on the property line. Like we can't just install a ramp. It has to be like a lift. And now that we have if we do a lift, then we got to totally change our interior, because things get displaced. And so I knew of this one grant. There's a federal enabling accessibility grant, and I knew that it hadn't been open for 2 or 3 years. So I was just waiting for that moment when it was going to be open, and I was going to be ready for it. And I was so obsessive about grants that I was looking on the Government of Canada news website like every couple of days to see when funding would be announced or when things would be open, because I know it kind of opens in the fall for a lot of things. And so as soon as the enabling accessibility grant was open, I applied right away. And as soon as the enabling accessibility youth component opened, I applied. And as soon as the New Horizons for Seniors grant opened, which was the very first grant I applied for and was rejected. But the second time, I was ready. I was more ready. And we got that one. That was the latest one we got.
So what's your biggest tip for other clubs that are applying for grants? What should they worry about?
Oh man, I don't know. Talk to lots of people. I see the Shellbrook guys online. I talked to him. I don't know, he wasn't really for grant. Well, yeah, you got different grants, but we didn't apply for that one. I just talked to him. There's lots of people on the call. There's the get tips and tricks from everyone. I guess I'm trying to give tips and tricks too, but you have to show you're not going to get funding for operating expenses. It has to be like, it could be for new programs, but it has to be, I don't know how to describe it. It's funding to help you continue to be self-sustainable. Like, so you could spin it that way, right? Like if you need a new roof, like we do, and our roof has no insulation on it, well, our new roof is going to have insulation on it. We're going to lower our heating bills by X amount, and that's going to help us be self-sustainable. So
There you go. Steve Gunnar Armstrong from the Armstrong Curling Club, he says, would we be able to see some of your branding material? I'm interested in how you market your club to the 20 to 40-year-old demographic. Do you have branding material to that age group? Or it's just because the board and the planning committee members are so young that you're encouraging people of your own age to come on?
if you want to see our branding material, I don't know if there's really a theme, but just go on our Facebook page and scroll through the tons of things that we have on there. I don't know how to
Melfort.
a lot of it is word of mouth, right? Like you can't just like, and maybe understanding where people are coming from. Like, for example, when I first moved to Melfort, I didn't even really know there was a curling club. The agriculture industry is small. So someone through passing asked if I curled and I said yes. And they're like, oh, do you want to join my team? And I said, yep. But Melfort didn't have a Facebook page at that time. And that's how I got all my information. So then I just took on that. I started, and I didn't know what I was doing then either. I still don't know if I know what I'm doing. But
Oh, come on, you're doing really well. But what you also told me, in addition to looking through everybody's Facebook pages or many curling clubs' Facebook pages, you also pay a great attention to the Business of Curling website and Facebook pages. And you looked into the archives, you kept on going. And you also reached out to both Curling Canada and CurlSask Curl to help you when you need help. Is that right?
yeah, that came down, like, they didn't give us money. Obviously I want
No,
money, but
They gave you support.
yeah, like I talked about, I called every town that had received that one grant that I applied for. So like, if I have a question, I ask people that I think might know the answer. So I don't even know how Dustin and I really connected. I don't remember what my first question was. And same with Bobby. I think, I can't remember what it was, but then they're passionate too, and they have lots of good advice. So then you feed off of that. That's same with like Corey Faye and Nick Fagnou. Like if I didn't have people like that, especially at the beginning with Corey Faye, I would have been so annoying asking all these questions I had. And he's a good leader. He's very patient. But if he was negative or something, then I would have given up a long time ago. So I think,
But Corey, having the right people on the board makes a big difference to you, does it not?
Oh, it's huge. Like we wouldn't be a third of where we were if it wasn't for Kerrie, right? She's been the catalyst there. Like, yes, I've helped maybe make sure she stays on a path and maybe to make sure that she's not getting too many things in the fire at one time. But she's the one that's been organizing and saying, no, I need help in this area. Let's get some more people involved here. She's the one that's been saying, hey, I'm looking at this. What do you think? So, I mean, it's a group effort, but like I said, we wouldn't be anywhere close to where we are right now if Kerrie wasn't involved.
Kerrie, Steve Gunnar also wants to know, do you use Instagram or TikTok?
so Instagram, I think I signed up an account maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and I just lurked for 2 years. I don't know how to work it, but now lately I have been using it more. And now when I post things, I do get some likes, maybe 20 likes, which I feel like is a lot, but I don't really know what I'm doing with that. But I lurked for a long time. And TikTok, no, I'm not. If somebody else wants to do that.
You use Twitter too, Kerrie.
And Twitter, yeah.
I don't
I'm on
know.
Twitter.
And then we use the local radio station too. I don't know if not many people listen to the radio anymore, but we do use that. We have used that in the past.
Yeah, you kind of need to do everything because not everybody's on Facebook and not everybody listens to the radio and not everybody. Yeah, the radio station
okay,
has
but you guys have over 1,000 followers on your Facebook page. So how did you get them to like you? Do you know, did that just come organically? Do you encourage them to do that?
That's a long, slow thing. Like, when did I start the Facebook? I think I started it when I moved to Melfort before I became a board member, I think. So that would have been 7 or 8 years ago. And since that time, like one of the big ones was we hosted the provincial Scotties, the women's championships for Saskatchewan in 2018. So during then we would have got a lot of likes and just, I don't know, it's just like kind of a slow, steady.
Takes time.
Yeah, like it didn't happen overnight.
And all of our branding and our posters and our club and our word of mouth, all of that is directed towards our Facebook page. Same when it comes to the radio station, right? Like that's something that we leverage. They may not give us as much money, but they'll give us airtime in lieu of a sponsorship in a lot of ways. So why wouldn't we take that and at least try to use that to our advantage, right? And maybe that directs a few people to our Facebook page.
There you go. All right, I'm going to open it up. We have like 10 minutes left. I'm going to open it up for questions. Does anyone have any questions that they want to ask these people or some of the other people that happen to still be on? It's crickets. No, but having over 1,000 followers on Facebook is already quite substantial. Tell me,
I leverage that now too, because when I put, depending on what our sponsorship proposals are for, I say, I think we're the second most liked Facebook page in Saskatchewan. So we're more liked than communities way bigger than us. So I leverage that because I also put that we're gonna put a post on Facebook for you. So yeah. I don't know where else you were going with that, but.
Oh no, that's exactly it. Someone else was on the Facebook page. I'll post the recording on the Facebook page. I don't know what you're asking, Steve. Sorry.
He's asking, will we be able to watch from the beginning somewhere? That's
yeah. I'll send out an email. You'll get it. I'll post it on YouTube. Okay, you're welcome. I'm wondering if Dustin.
There's another question.
Is there?
Colleen, sorry. Scott Scherman from the Hussville Curling Club. A great work going on in Saskatchewan, and boy, I'd love to have some farmers and everything migrate to mid-Ontario, to cottage country. That said, curious if you can tell me a little bit about how you approached the naming rights activities, because we're actually at that point right now. We've done many things similar to what has been described by the team from the Melfort Curling Club, but naming rights is a hot topic right now. So love some insights.
I'm trying to think of how we
make up proposals, like we normally make up a proposal of what we're trying to do, and it's usually just a PDF or a Word document or whatever it is, and then basically just run through whatever we're trying to do at the curling rink is kind of what we've been doing. I don't know how we approach Bourgault so much, but I mean, I guess it helped that we had a lot of people involved in Bourgault, like Kerrie has said, like there's a good amount of curling members that work at Bourgault, and I mean that probably helped us in that case too.
And I think from like a terms perspective, we just had a discussion at our board table as far as the dollar amount that we felt was reasonable. And then the one thing that we really kind of went back and forth on was the term and how long it would be for. We talked about, how much value are they going to get back from us? And we came to the idea that we would say X dollars for a 10-year span, knowing that then we would have a chance at a renewal and income down the road. We didn't want this to be X dollar for the lifetime of our building. We wanted to make sure we had the chance to to get additional value down the road on something like that as well.
Yeah, at the very beginning, we did have kind of an offer for a lifetime naming rights, and we rejected it. It was so early, and yeah, we didn't feel comfortable at that point saying, okay, yeah, we'll sign this off for forever. So we, yeah, decided on 10 years. And among the Shelbrook guys on, and
Yeah.
I knew that they had done some naming rights things, and so I called him, and then also Moosomin, the town of Moosomin, their recreation director there, Mike. They're very good at naming rights things, and so I also thought maybe he could speak on that.
Yeah, I was just going to add and echo what you said. Really, what the idea of fixed term. So and you just look at the various sponsors, or in our case, it's also agriculturally based. So James Richardson is a very generous organization, and they take in I think quarterly they review applications. In the town of Shelbrook, that's where I'm from, just down the road from Melfort, really, had applied for a few different projects with JRI, James Richardson Corporation, and we just gave them a try. You go to your local agent, your local elevator agent or company manager, and he actually puts in the application. But so you write a letter describing what you want, and we went with a 10-year naming rights as one of our offerings to them. So you offer the corporation what you think they might benefit from. So our facility, which is a combined facility, now managed by the town, 4 sheets of curling ice and a hockey facility, is all under the hockey side is the James Richardson Rec Center, and but curling side, the lounge has there's a naming rights been taken up and actually asked for by a family. I think there's 5 boys in their family. They lost their dad a little bit prematurely, and they asked if they could, over a period of, I think it's 4 years, give $10,000 a year or something like that. I forget the amounts, to have the lounge named after their dad. So
Lovely.
it's just called Rogers on the Rocks.
There you go.
Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful story. How is that
Yeah.
going to help you in Lake Country in Ontario?
Yeah, well, you know what? It's interesting what Evan just said. We've got a couple of potential scenarios like that, but it's I guess documenting your offer. I think that's the key message I'm taking away from the feedback. Documenting the offer, and probably be cast a wide net, right? Because you just don't know who it might appeal to.
Well, also they had the courage to say no. That's really interesting. You're looking for fundraising. Kerrie, talk about that a little bit. You guys had the courage to say no to that lifetime offer.
That's true.
Yeah, I don't know.
What was it, courage, Kerrie?
I don't know. I didn't like how he offered it, so I guess it was kind of also like, I don't know. But also on that note, what we came across sometimes is like, yeah, we're a small city, so I know there's some people on the call here that are from much smaller communities. We've heard a couple times now from these big players, that some of the big players out there, that they don't want to support us. They would much rather support the small villages and towns in Saskatchewan. So don't sell yourself short if you're out there from a small community. Have that in your back pocket. Make sure you're not selling yourself short just because you're smaller, because I think that's not a fair assessment. Like in Melfort, there's tons of things to do. In a small community, maybe there's only a couple things to do. So it's all relative.
Gary, I was just going to mention, and we had this conversation about title naming rights and other things like rings. And I think the only other thing, Scott, that I would say is make sure your value is maybe, or it's a bit higher than you might think you want for a title. I know of one club where the title naming rights is $2,500, which might seem nice to get, but then if you're going to get a ring sponsor and then a league sponsor, and then that amount gets fairly small. So I think valuing it maybe a little bit higher, Kerrie, you'd maybe recommend as well. So I think I can't remember what Bourgault is, but up into that 7,500 to 10,000 range, because they're getting visibility all throughout the year on their social media pages, big sign in front of the club. They have hundreds of people going through provincial competitions. So just making sure that that value's there for a title naming right.
Well, the value certainly is there in Melfort because Kerrie backs it up with the social media marketing that she's doing for all of the sponsors that they get. That's certainly a big value, and it proves its worth. And maybe that's the reason why everyone sees what's going on. The same thing that happened with the last webinar that I ran, the Elk Point Curling Club webinar, when they said that people saw that they were doing things, that made the community really interested in helping them out. When they saw that they were making that building more accessible and that money was actually being put to good use, that made it so much better for them. The money started coming in from places that they didn't even expect. So it's interesting. Someone's asking, Steve Amiot is asking, and I guess that this is for Whitewood, Saskatchewan. At what point did you move your 12-team bonspiel to an arena? And do you attribute that move to your success? Are you still there, Chad?
Yeah, I'm here. We're going into our 6th annual bonspiel. We shut down for a couple of seasons during COVID. What happened was we started the bonspiel. All of a sudden, curling became popular in Whitewood again, and we're a town of 900 people, and our membership grew. The club grew with it. And then we were lucky enough in 2019 to get to host the Sasktel Tankard, the Saskatchewan Men's Playdowns. And so holding that just grew the sport that much more popular, and again grew our membership, grew our junior membership. So it all kind of feeds off each other. But yeah, moving it from the 12 team or 10 team that we used to up to a 64 team sure increased the popularity of the sport in Whitewood. Definitely.
Is that an option for you guys in Melfort?
Yeah, I mean, the rink's right there. So I mean, it's maybe if we'll shoot for 32 for next year. And if it fills up that quick, well, maybe we'll look into 64 next year. So it's never say no, I guess.
There you go. Anyone have any
Gail has
parting comments? I guess back to you, Kerrie.
Gail has a question, looks like.
Hi, I'm in a small town in Ontario. We're actually probably about the same size as you are, but we're surrounded by several cities. So we're not in that. We are agricultural, but not to the same degree you are. And we are just in the starting phases of same thing, an accessibility project. We're looking at probably more on the 3 million mark is what we're going to need to do ours. But one of the things that we're doing is approaching our township council, and we've got them on board, and they're offering us help with grant writing, and they're sending us to the right people. Like, so they're on board and they're helping us out.
Good job.
Yeah, I think some of our issues with the city would be is they're also applying for the same grants for their own infrastructure issues. But we have a good relationship with them, and I think, well, I met with them last week. It's not approved yet, but they will be supporting us directly through some funding.
Yeah.
So I don't forget that, because for visibility and everything else, your township, whatever government you've got, will help you out.
Yeah, and I think ours has actually, I think they've seen what we've been doing, and that has spurred them to even create some programs that will help us, maybe not so much on the writing side, but providing that down payment portion when we're looking at applications for grants and things like that. So I think that that's another benefit that it's actually come out of this.
What will Curling Day in Canada do for Melfort? Do you have any expectations?
I think
Well,
it's going to be a visibility thing. I think it's going to get more people in town. It's going to get more people in our rink and seeing what we're doing and what we're looking at accomplishing, right? It's bringing that economic impact. It's showing everybody else that maybe even isn't a curler that having a curling rink and having this facility in town is good for the town, even if you're not in our rink all the time.
I think there's some things where you just almost take it for granted. Like we have all these really good partnerships with schools and the Special Olympics and all these things. And when you talk to the nicer hotel in Melfort, when they told me, well, like easily 500 nights, 500 rooms per year are booked directly due to the curling rink, I was quite shocked by that. I didn't expect. So it's pretty easy to do an economic analysis of, like a rough one. You don't need to pay someone to do an economic analysis of this. Like 500 rooms per year times 2 people times, you know, they're eating, they're buying gas, it's.
But that also has to do with, you've got a community that is sharing that information. Otherwise, it's going to be really difficult to find it. I don't know if everybody's going to be happy about disclosing the kind of numbers that they think that you're contributing, or am I wrong?
Say that again. What was the question?
No, but it's because you have a community that's willing to share those kind of numbers with you.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. It's fantastic.
And I think the other thing would be is you'd be surprised at how helpful people will be. Like even some might be more hesitant to share stuff, but even sponsorship packages, donation letters, you just have to ask around a little bit and people are going to be willing to share that information with you to help you generate more revenue too.
And Dustin, you have some of those, don't you?
We do have some resources. Some of them are still in creation before the Business of Curling workshop in April coming up. But we do have those, and clubs will reach out for, hey, do you have a donation letter? And if we don't, we'll look for one, or we'll put it on our to-do list to create one. So making sure to reach out if you're a club that needs, like Kerrie mentioned, we maybe aren't able to support financially into the hundreds of thousands as some grants are available, but there are other ways that we can support your club.
Well, really good. Well, thank you everyone for coming on today. I was thrilled. I'm so proud of you guys there in Melfort. You're doing a really great job. Keep up the good work. I hope that you get your $1.1 million goal and the renovations are all going to be done. And congratulations for 2024.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for hosting this.
You're welcome.
We're in that declining stage, and I'm a 70-year-old guy, so the demographic shift that you've seen in Melfort is to be commended. We're struggling in that. Like our seniors is our biggest group, so any kind of help we could get with, or I could pass on to the existing curling board and how to grow the club in that demographic, that 20 to 35 demographic is where we seem to be lacking, and appreciate your good work on that.
Any comments for him about that?
One
say
thing that,
Oh, go ahead.
sorry, one thing that we've started doing is shorter leagues, so 6-end leagues instead of 8-end, or a triples league, so that the time frame of your game is shorter, and a lot of the younger demographic like that.
Yeah, okay.
See, the other thing with Melfort is like the seniors kind of do their own thing. Like they have their own league, they have their own bonspiels. They don't really come to our bonspiels. We obviously don't go to theirs. And maybe I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. Obviously they don't, sometimes are hesitant to change. So if we want to do different ideas, we can do that with our own bonspiel. You know, like we don't have to try to
Well, and we did start a 6-week bonspiel or 6-week league this year too, and it kind of feeds off of the other idea of shorter games. We just did a 6-week commitment where they could come in and try for that 6 weeks. They didn't have to pay for the whole year. They didn't have to commit to 5 months of curling. It was just a chance to come out and try, right? And that's right along with our fun nights, our St. Paddy's Day night. We do a beer and curl night where they go out and they play 4-end games and have a drink, right? They come for the drink, and on the side they get to try curling, and hopefully that gets them in the door for the next year.
The other thing we do, I think, is key. We don't have men's, we don't have women's leagues. Like we just don't care. I just think that's a huge barrier to some people. Like I think get rid of those personally. Why? like a town nearby just had a bonspiel last weekend, and it was a one bonspiel, but they had men's and women's only. And so like I would have curled, but like I don't have a women's team. Like I have a different team, so I couldn't curl. I just think, and also the other thing I think we do for our age group that's helpful, you just have to sign up a team. We don't care if there's 7 people on your team, because we know a big barrier is like you're busy, so you can't come every week, and it's a pain to find a spare all the time. So if you sign up with 7 people, you're just paying for 4. We don't care if there's 7 people on your team, because then those people can make their games. At least they can.
Especially
There's always someone available to make the game.
Yeah, like we have 2 teams of doctors and nurses that curl in our rec leagues that there's no way they'd be able to curl, but they have 6 or 7 on each one of their teams. And as their shifts work, they put 4 people together and show up, and they're having a great time. And that's something that we definitely did not have 5 years ago.
And it's still amazing. You can have 5 to 6 or 7 people, and somehow you're still short, and you're only curling with 3. So
So
All
I
right.
don't know.
Well, those are all good ideas. Our club has been trying them, so we're on the right track, I guess.
You're more active on Facebook too, I noticed.
Yeah, I think they are. I mean, I'm just a curler and the mayor of the town, so I offered to attend this, to learn what I could and pass it on. Our seniors is quite successful in getting 32 people out each month, and it is a monthly basis. So that there's one individual who's really active in keeping the teams organized. You get a new team every month, and you only have to commit to a month, so a snowbird can still curl. And so that has really helped in that area. But it is the over 50 crowd who can get out in the afternoon. So that is the one area, and the curling club is trying to encourage those shorter length game events, and with some success. But we all yearn for the days of 40 years ago when it was very competitive at times, and you even had competitions to see who could get in the competitive league. It's really changed a lot. Getting that younger crowd out is the key.
Yeah.
And rec leagues.
Well, yeah, of course, that's right. It's recreational. The competitive nature of our curling in our town has declined dramatically for whatever reason.
Yeah, and I would say we didn't gain these 40 members overnight. Like this has been kind of a slow thing that started with those fun spiels. We started it 6 years ago, and it was a huge success. It just kind of became a thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know.
And it grew
We have
from
16
there.
teams in their season-ending fun spiel. It's coming up 2 weeks. At 4-sheet facility, we could certainly handle 32, but 16 is not bad.
I think it's knowing that, like, don't give up if it doesn't go great that first year. You have to have it for a couple of years, and people need to know and expect it to be coming up that next year, and then they plan for it, and they know that, hey, March 17th, I'm going to the curling club, so I've been there the last 3 years, right? So even if it isn't maybe what you think it'll be that first year, it helps to keep pushing through.
Maybe another part of it too is like getting other people involved. Like Nick, for the 50th anniversary, did I just call you and say, oh yeah, I did, because you're a golfer, and I was like, hey, do you want to organize this this golf tournament, like the golf portion? And then he did, and then I don't know, like you get different people. You have your board of directors, but then maybe some other committees and stuff. Like you just reach out to people and see if they want to participate in planning something, and then they tell their friends, and then like that's how you can put a poster on Facebook, but like people aren't going to sign up just because there's a poster on Facebook. They have to know someone that's going to this thing.
And I guess you got to talk about it on the radio station, Nick.
yeah, I was surprised. This is definitely surpassed my expectations, I guess. It started with a little golf tournament we did just because I'm an avid golfer, and Kerrie thought I could run a golf tournament, and we gave her a shot, and then we turned it into a farmer spiel, and I think I think I got suckered into now on the board, so.
Hey, you texted me and said I will join the board.
So, I mean, it is honestly just taking time and just trying to hit that demographic. I mean, each community is different with different demographics of ages too, right? You know, Melfort's kind of lucky that way. But yeah, just having these fun spiels, you know, having these things that fit everyone's schedules, you know, I mean, we have busy schedules, all of us, and it's just hitting those certain points of trying to get people out to curl.
Really good. Well, I'll leave it there with all of you, and thank you so much. There may be another webinar within the next 2 weeks, and if so, I will let you know what it is going to be about. But thank you so much for participating, all of you, and good luck with not just 2024, but also Curling in Business, the webinar that you're going to put on, or I guess it's a seminar that you're going to in Regina in April. Good for you, Kerrie,
Yes.
and Kerrie, Nick, Dustin, Chad, Corey, Scott. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Colleen.
Thanks to the organizers. Thanks to Melfort. Take care.
Yes, thank you all.
Bye-bye.